revisiting my dreams with the king.
Yo, good people, welcome to another episode of The Ride, a journey towards your dreams. I'm your host, Johnny King III, aka Still Chill Leroy, and this is the Revisit Your Dreams podcast show, exclusively on the Revisit Your Dreams channel right here at youtube.com. As always, we have a very special guest and a very special episode to present to you today. But like always, I want to remind you of what we're doing here at Revisit Your Dreams. Here at Revisit Your Dreams, we provide inspiration, motivation, encouragement. We explore real life stories of trial, error, and success, and maybe even provide a few laughs along the way. This is season 4 of the show titled Artisans. In this season, we are highlighting, featuring, and celebrating artists who are on their journey to greatness. There's a lot going on in the world today, and you could be anywhere doing anything. So we thank you for being here with us today and spending the time. My very special guest today is a dynamic and inspirational keynote speaker, a prolific poet and spoken word artist with over 10 publicly released spoken word projects available everywhere you stream music. He is a well-traveled wordsmith delivering faith-based messages and presentations at events, conferences, and ecumenical services throughout the United States. His podcast, Frontrunners, highlights and features individuals at the top of their game and who are leading with impact along their journey to rise to greater versions of themselves. He is the Director of Ministry Development for Rooted, a gospel-centered youth ministry based in Birmingham, Alabama. He is a U.S. Air Force veteran and as a reserve currently serves as a chaplain for the military sector. He's the author of the book, Identity Theft, Reclaiming the Truth in the Midst of Lies, available for purchase on Amazon. As a collegian, he has attended and ran track for Mississippi State University, is a proud graduate and former track athlete of Tennessee State University, and earned an advanced degree from Lipscomb University in Nashville. He is a native of Detroit, Michigan, currently residing in Nashville, Tennessee. He is a proud husband over 30 years, a proud father of 3, and a member of the illustrious Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Please welcome to the show, making his first appearance on The Ride, a man of faith and of many choice words, our very special guest, Isaiah A. Marshall. Welcome to the show.
Let's go. Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited. I appreciate you having me. Appreciate the awesome introduction as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sure you have a lengthier resume than what I can read off that we have time for, but thank you for being here today. And let's get started, man. I like to start off by letting the audience know how I know each guest. Every guest that I interview to this point has been somebody I either personally knew or been a network connection between someone that I've personally known. I first met Isaiah in 2011, 2012. I believe during his process to become a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I remember immediately being drawn to his quiet but stoic nature, kind of unfazed demeanor during the process. At least that's what I was inspired by. That's what I noticed. Brother Marshall, do you have any comments regarding my opening statements and how we met?
Man, again, I appreciate the introduction. I will say, I haven't been married over 30 years, but
Okay.
we've been married almost 18 years.
Okay.
My bride, met her at Tennessee State University, where she also ran track, where I finished up my collegiate career there. I appreciate you as well, and just even during that process of becoming a member, and just getting to know you and your heart, just even as we talk about creativity and how you are a creator as well, creative as well. And so we draw inspiration from each other. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Let's go ahead and get into it. Off top, your gift of spoken word has taken you places all around the country and has been put on display in front of hundreds, even thousands. But what was the moment in your life or career that made you want to begin expressing your thoughts and lifestyle through spoken word?
Yeah, I'll say the creative platform evolved from something, And so growing up in Detroit, where, beautiful things that I grew up in, but there's also some hard things that I kind of had to walk through. And one of the things is that, showing emotions was seen as like soft and seen as a weakness. And I was an emotional kid, but I often had to kind of mask that or suppress that. And I remember when I went to college, Mississippi State. Went over to Mississippi, all the way to Mississippi. And when I would come back home, I would take the Greyhound bus. But I would be intentional about sitting by the window. And it was like a 24-hour ride, back to Detroit. But I would take this journal with me. And throughout that 24-hour journey, I would just journal a lot of things that I was walking through, a lot of things that I was processing or needed to heal from. And I would journal. And what started as journaling started to take form into poetry. And so there will often be this redemptive arc through whatever I was walking through. So this thing is bad, but there was something that I was hoping for that would be good at the other end of it. And so the poetry started to take, the journaling started to take form, and it turned into poetry, where it was more of like an expression of, because I grew up in a hip hop culture, grew up listening to rap music, influenced heavily by that. And so the art form of rap, but what I found is that rap, you were often confined to a beat, into bars, into meters and things like that. Whereas poetry, you kind of make your own rules.
Yeah, you can sway a little bit.
Right. And so that's kind of how it took form for me. Started out as journaling, and as I journaled, it started to take form. And then you start having poetic elements in it, and it just kind of evolved into what it is today.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. It sounds like the story of a rose that grew from the concrete.
Sure.
We come from similar backgrounds in that sense. Matter of fact, I've often heard it said that the Bay Area and Detroit is cousins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I come from a similar place in the city of Vallejo, where it could be a little rough, to grow up there. I too was kind of a emotional kid, or at least I knew early on that I experienced emotions that other kids weren't freely willing to express. And I was willing to express them even as a young kid, but it was shunned a little bit. It was like, man, you soft, you weak, you this, that, and the other. So you hold it in, you know what I'm saying? And you reserve it. And then until you get to a point in life where the boldness, takes over, and you just start becoming all of who you were designed to be, man.
That's right.
That's dope, Isaiah. When was the moment that you decided to expand upon your talents and begin recording and releasing your work to the public on media platforms?
Art in general is just such a vulnerable thing. The way you put words together, expressing your creativity, is almost like when you're creative, especially, in this platform, it's almost like you stand before an audience and say, hey, do you like me? I'm from a city that's both broken and beautiful, immovable, hardworking but known to get active if it's suitable. We wear pain behind cardi frames, hoping our flyness can calm a turbulent life. I did life with lions, whose love language was violence, giants in the field like their name was Goliath. They sling shots like Joe D. As a child, I seen fiends drop from OD. I saw my neighbor's house get raided by police. I remember running court on a neighborhood playground, where trash talk was met with threats of 8 rounds. Remember wild fights in the hood for bragging rights, and wild nights on the aisle stunting like my bag was right, trying to grab the baddest shorty on sight. My childhood was a foundation built on trauma. Drama framed this house. I put up walls to hide these wounds that smothered the hopes of a child. I felt like a stranger in my own home, where sticks and stones were thrown, and the arsenal of names I was called reverberated through the empty halls. But I learned to suppress them. Denial, like they never existed. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like you're sharing this thing, and it's so subjective, and it's based on the preference of the listeners or the hearers. Right. And so it took me a while. So, poetry, it started off as something that I just kind of kept to myself, where it's like something that I did and I crafted words, using words and all that, and I kept it to myself. And I remember sharing some with my then girlfriend, who was not my wife, who kind of encouraged me to share it with others. And so I started doing that, but in more safe places, I would say. And so I was a part of a campus ministry, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, where I would get the opportunity to things that I wrote that I would share with my peers in that context. And then as I shared there, it became more of a safe place. And then the encouragement started to happen. And I started to realize that what I was sharing was connecting with people. And so that is the thing, or, the thing that kind of drew me or encouraged me to start sharing it out with the world. And I do notice and recognize that particularly spoken word is not often something that's shared on like the streaming platforms. You'll get the singing, you'll get the rapping, but spoken word has often been confined to more I guess intimate spaces where you'll be like at the coffee house, the libraries, or even at conferences or retreats and stuff
live
like
performances.
that. Yes, live performance context. But I found that there's only a certain amount of people that will hear and engage with that. And then even in those contexts, I would often see people say, "Hey, I was so like wrapped into what you were saying, I kind of missed things because I was like holding on to this one thing that you said, and then you will keep going." And so I'm like, you know what? I need to put it out there so that people can engage in that way, where they can go back and they can listen to it. And so that's what kind of encouraged me to start putting it on those platforms.
Yeah. Oh man, that's dope, and that's encouraging. Hopefully, someone out there is inspired to take their art to the next level, realizing that there are people out there that might relate to what you're saying. Not just the fact that you have the gift or the skill, but the word choice that you actually use, the emotion behind the expression that you actually use that might impact people's lives. And it sounds like that was the motivating factor to say, you know what, if it's moving people like this, I need to find a way to make sure that they can keep having access to it. And that's dope, man. I hope somebody is out there is encouraged by that word. All right. As a leader of young minds and hearts through your work with Rooted, how have your gifts served and inspired both the youth and adult leaders that you work with?
I think, creativity for me, at least, is healing. And there's one poet that I follow. He said, and I use this as sort of like a catalyst as to why I share art and what it does, not only for me, but what I hope it does for the listener. But he said, when life breaks your heart, make art with the pieces. And so for me, I really connected, and that really registered to me.
Yeah.
And because there's often this redemptive tone in nature, as I mentioned before, it's like this thing that I'm wrestling with, this hard thing is happening in my life, but this is a hopeful future that I have on the other side of this thing. So spoken word poetry for me is a way to make art with broken pieces. And I think even as a person of faith, when you look at scripture, there's this redemptive art through the biblical narrative, where God is righting this wrong, this broken thing that's happened, and you watch how God works and make these things right. And he uses broken people like myself to do that. Yeah. And so as I lead and shape the hearts and minds of young people, that's what I hope, that being a creative, the things that not only through spoken word poetry, but also through the things you write. So through Rooted, we do blog articles. And so we help leaders, particularly youth leaders and family ministry leaders and parents. We help them walk through difficult things, what it means to be a parent, to be a father, to be a mother, and the things that we wrestle with in parenthood. And what is this hopeful thing that we hope will happen, not only as we as we walk along our young people, but also what is it that we hope for our young people? And so that's the thing that I hope, in anything that I do, the creative platforms, the work that I do within Rooted, is that our hope is that the words that we use, how we walk alongside, will give people encouragement and empower them as they walk through hard things and see that there's a hopeful future at the end of that.
Man, that inspires me. Definitely does. And what I picked up on the most is, you know, picking up, making art out of the broken pieces, and how God uses broken people
Yes,
to
sir.
do the same things. He'll take someone's pain and use it, alchemize it within them and then give them the courage to express it to other people, so that
Yeah, man,
he can help change them as well. I think that's dope. Thank you for that expression.
for sure.
Since you began publicly expressing yourself through spoken word, what doors and opportunities have you seen open up for you?
So it's been a journey, and I say that in a sense that the doors that have been open has been very like ministry based. So like I'm primarily in more faith based spaces.
Mm-hmm.
That's the work that I do full time, and because it's the work that I do full time, when individuals learn that that I am a spoken word poet, that I am a speaker, I get invited to do things. So,
Mm-hmm.
I've been invited to platforms where there was a organization called Listen to Your Mother, where we did um, essays. It was like essays, but in my audition, I did a poem to kind of honor my mom,
Mm-hmm.
and I got selected to be on that, and we got the opportunity to perform at the TPAC, the Tennessee Performing Arts Center.
Mm-hmm.
So opportunities like that, and then also within larger organizations, faith based organizations, where I've got to minister to through the platform of spoken word. To thousands, as you mentioned, to hundreds and thousands,
Yeah.
which I'm grateful for. I'm honored, because I recognize that it's a tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tool that I get to use to point people towards a hope and an encouragement that is found in someone that's greater than myself.
Yeah.
And pointing people to the Lord. And I feel like it's, especially during this time where attention span is very low.
Mm-hmm.
I find it useful to have this particular platform as a spoken word artist to grasp attention,
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of different ways. So a lot of times when I go out to speak, I would use spoken word within that platform to kind of grasp people's attentions. We've built this house on solid ground. The winds and rain, they came, but yet it endures, even when it hurts. We've experienced hurt, like losing our child before we had the chance to meet. Grief moved into our nursery before joy ever got the keys. Injustice, it almost evicted our peace. One day, a trip to the store turned into a threat. Cool day, windows cracked, just a few things in hand. But someone called the law and forgot to call compassion. He questioned her with suspicion, tried to call her criminal, as if love like hers could ever be neglectful. Filed charges that could have folded everything we were building. And during that very season, we were praying for papers to prove what God had already known. You belong here. But God stood in the courtroom where grace overruled fear. He silenced the gavel with mercy. He threw out the case and reminded us. So it's amazing to see the light bulb moments when you do go from, communicating orally, like through speaking,
Mm-hmm.
but then when you fuse the spoken word in, and it's like, oh man,
You start
this,
seeing light bulbs go off in people's head and stuff.
right. Oh, this
Eyes
different.
start opening up.
Yeah. So it has provided opportunities to minister in that way, which I'm grateful for and I'm honored.
And
So yeah,
it all started with you expressing yourself in journals,
for sure.
just expressing your own emotions, your own thoughts, and then having, the courage to, or the talent, the creative skill to turn those thoughts into poetry, into spoken word pieces, and then the courage to take that spoken word art and expose it to other people.
Yeah,
And then the realization that, well, this is impacting people. Let me use this a little bit more in my everyday dealings. That's just amazing. Hopefully somebody out there is inspired by that journey. Thank you for sharing that, Brother Marshall. We're going to
sure.
switch gears for a minute. We'll get back to your work and your gifts shortly, but this is a more personal question. You are a passionate runner, long
Yeah.
distance, short distance, running for sport or competition, running for general fitness, etc. You ran track as a collegiate athlete for both Mississippi State University and Tennessee State University. What have all of these years and miles of running taught you about yourself?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I think one is that I'm more capable than I think I am.
Mm-hmm.
Because running is hard.
Yes.
It's a really hard sport. There were countless times where I will finish a workout or something. It's like, man, why am I doing this to myself? But then I go back for more.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like one is like I'm more capable than I think I am. I'm more resilient than I think I am. And it's like, man, it takes a lot of courage to continue to go back and do that to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of like um, just the mental capacity because it's very mental.
Mm-hmm.
The coach is gonna get you in shape. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? You're gonna be in the best shape of your life, but you gotta overcome the mental block. And I think it allowed me to do that. One, by visualizing the race, seeing the ending before I even start. You know what I mean? And I
Mm-hmm.
think having vision is a huge part of that. It's like, man, because I think that translates even into my normal life. It's like, man, you gotta have vision for the thing that you desire,
Yeah.
or the thing that you desire to do. Is like, what is that vision? What are
Mm-hmm.
you hoping to get out of this thing?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of translated from my experience in running. And I think more than anything, it's the communal. Like, I just really value community. And I think that comes from my experience with track and field, being involved in sports where it's like you're valued as a part of this team, that each member has value that they bring to this whole thing that
Mm-hmm.
that you have going on. And it's like you're dependent on each other. It's like that interdependency that you
Mm-hmm.
have. And I really value community, and because that community, that connection, that care, that belonging that I got from my experience through the sport of track and field. And as now in ministry, as a youth pastor, those are things that I tried to bring within the context of which I serve. It's like, how can we foster healthy community amongst the people I'm serving?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know the value of it from my experience with track and field. So
Man, that was a great response, and a great way to describe what track and field has done for you. One thing that really stood out to me is vision. It helps you create vision. In every race, you have an end goal, a, a,
that's
a
right.
line or a mark or a time that you're trying to beat, or maybe even another individual you're racing against that you're trying to beat.
Hmm.
And but it's still a singular race. It's still mental enough where it's all you. No matter, you could be running against 1,000 people. And you're trying to come in first, but it's still based on what you do and what you tell
Hmm.
yourself and how far you're willing to push yourself,
Yeah, man.
and not give up and not quit because you know you have an end goal. I appreciate that so much. And
Yeah.
audience, if you're listening, if you have something in your life that's a target goal, use something in your past that you visualized a goal and you accomplished that goal through that vision and you didn't quit. Use that as motivation, as fuel to fuel the next goal, the next mission, the
Yeah.
next effort. It sounds like you might have been wanted to say something.
Yeah. I think by and large, we get so fixated on the results.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say, visualizing my race, I'm visualizing like every aspect of it, like the pain that I experience, all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. Uh, Recognizing that that's a part of the journey. And
Yes.
so sometimes we get so obsessed, we get so attached to the results that we neglect and we forget about the journey that it takes to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, it communicated, my experience with track just communicated the importance of the journey. Yeah, there's a result that there's an end goal, there's this thing, but sometimes that could be a distraction.
Yeah.
Because man, we got to go through a lot. I mean, even in life, man, you go through the challenges, the pains, the joys of life, but like being present in the journey, learning the lessons along the way as we kind of walk through or journey through to get the result that we want. And so
Mm-hmm.
don't get so attached and obsessed with the results that you lose sight of what's going on in the journey. So
Man, that's amazing. That is so true because many times, we look at the goal that we want to accomplish, the end result,
mhm,
and then we consider the journey, and then we get discouraged,
that's right.
and you don't realize that the goal that's just the cherry on the top, but the
Yeah.
cake is the journey. The
Hmm.
ice cream is the journey. The milkshake is the journey. The
Yeah,
end result is just the cherry on top. If you were to just be given that cherry, you'd be like, is this it?
man.
Right. But if you
Yeah,
eat the whole cake or the milkshake, now you like, okay, man, this was good. I enjoyed this. This was, this benefited me in some kind of way. I ran
yeah,
track in high school as well. I didn't run in college, but I did run in high school. And so I understand and relate to everything that you're saying.
man.
And two of
Awesome.
I still to this very day, I still draw off those experiences.
That's right.
And I won a lot of races. I was a hurdler, and hurdles and 110 hurdles and at most track events is the very first race of the event. And so I always started off, like I was kicking it off for the team
Yeah,
every time. And I was coming in first a lot, and so it felt good. But what I didn't learn, that's not what I learned from. What I learned from is the last two races I ever ran, and one I got disqualified for. I was in a league championship race uh, for the 110 hurdles, and I got disqualified because I started focusing. I jumped the gun, and I started focusing on. I
wow,
wasn't focused on running my race. I was focusing on my competition,
man.
and immediately that ended my track career, as far as the 110 hurdles. But I draw from that every single day I live. Like, I draw from that. Focus on your race, run your race. And
Yeah,
then I had a chance to run the 330 intermediate hurdles, and I barely qualified for that race. It was in the same championship meet. I was the eighth qualifier. So,
mm,
I was running the slowest times, but in my mind, I said, this might be the last race I ever run in track, because
wow,
I wasn't planning on running in college. This was my
yeah,
senior year. I was like, this might be the last race I ever run. So I'm going to run it like it is the last race.
yeah.
I came in fourth place in that race, but I came in fourth place like we crossed the finish line like this.
Oh
I
man,
was
so it was
in,
a
I
close
was in,
race.
I was in, no, I was in the lead by a long shot. I was running so fast, but second to the last hurdle, I was running so hard. My body I think my hamstring said, man, I ain't never experienced this
Ooh.
before. You know what I'm saying? And so I went over that second
Yeah,
to last hurdle. My hamstring started tightening up, and I was limping through the rest of the race, and everybody caught up. And that's why I finished in fourth place. But otherwise, I was in first by a mile. But that was the mindset. It was because of the mindset, And so I only said that to express to the audience that use things from your past that you've learned from to help you in your current and present future. Let
man, that's
uh,
good.
let's move on. You are a proud husband and father.
Yeah,
This is just a short question. How has your family inspired you personally?
man. I think when folks often ask me questions about my biggest accomplishments, I say my family.
Mm-hmm.
Man, my kids, 3 kids. I got a 12-year-old daughter, 10-year-old son, an 8-year-old daughter. But they are a huge like inspiration and encouragement, and recognizing that I have people looking to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One is like, what am I modeling for them?
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm, for instance, if I'm expressing like, man, like this thing that I often tell, especially my oldest, is like, listen, you gotta do what you have to do so that you can do what you want to do. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes things like that can be words, just words. But like, how am I expressing? How am I showing that? How am I modeling that?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, just the work that you put in, even still to this day, like, I don't being a track athlete, like I used to, I had a love-hate relationship in the sense that, it's hard, but
Mm-hmm.
I used to do the things that I had to do to get the results that I wanted and desired. And so even to this day, like I go out, I'll run. Sometimes I don't feel like it,
Mm-hmm.
but I do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I want to stay in shape. I want to be healthy, those type of things. And so communicating and modeling those things. And then my wife is just a huge supporter of my dream, you know, not only the work that I do in ministry full time, but also in the work that I do creatively.
Mm-hmm.
Just being a huge supporter, huge encourager during that times, and even sometimes challenging.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like I remember before. This is it. Just kind of communicates just her support of me. I remember before I had competed in a speech contest, and at the end of it, when they read those results, my name wasn't called.
Uh-huh.
Because in my mind, I'm like,
I
everybody want
did
to
it.
win, everybody think they're gonna
Yeah.
win,
Yeah.
and so I sat there, head down, and my wife sitting next to me was like, put your head up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, don't like, nah, put your head up. You did a good, you did the best job that you could do. You just
Yeah.
didn't get the results that you wanted. That
Yeah.
don't mean that don't mean it was a failure. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Put your head up. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think it just communicates just her support, but not only support, just challenging me not to just, wallow in my sorrows and my discouragement. It's like
Mm-hmm.
feel the feels, but put your head up. Take the L,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Take the
uh,
L and learn from it.
learn from it. It's not because it's like you were here. You know what I mean? Like you made it to this point. Though you always want to, you always want to win, but there's lessons that you can learn throughout that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Man,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was about to say, and it's not to just sit and feel sorry for yourself
Mm-hmm.
that you didn't win. So
Yeah, man, it's all family is very valuable. Kids will definitely, kind of put you in your place without putting you in your place. They don't even got to say nothing. Their existence alone, a lot of times, if you really care about them and their future, will kind
yeah,
of force you into doing some things that you weren't doing before they existed,
hmm
or force you into stop doing some things that you were doing
yeah.
before they existed.
Here's another, like for me, like one of the things that I struggle with, sports in general, and I think it goes along with creatives as well. Is dependent on the hearers. So like as a spoken word artist, you're making art. One is like I'm trying to make art for healing, to process, to connect with people. But at the end of the day, the consumer, you know what I mean? Like it's subjective.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like even with sports, it's like you're so dependent. It's performance based.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes, at least in my experience, it's something that I wrestle with is that kind of sprinkles into other areas of my life where then it becomes about the performance. Like I feel like I got to perform in this way to get approval or to get a sense of belonging and stuff like that. And like my family is a place where, man, you don't have to perform. You know what I mean? You can show up you don't have to put on this ministry mask. It felt, you know what I mean? Like you can just come in and just be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not this pressure to to meet this deadline or this pressure to go up and hope that people resonate or connect with the art that you're making. But it's just, man, I'm just being me. I'm just being present. And I think that is teaching me that, you know, the fact that I have that in my home where we can just freely be, I think is teaching me to be that way outside of the home as well, to show up in that way. So.
Yeah, because you mentioned earlier you were big on community, and your family in your home is its own community,
For sure.
is your community. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And you're building that community. You're the lead, the head of that community. And when you, as the head of that community, can come home and be received, not just like the guy who's running the show, you received as one of them. You know, that it humbles you, but it also fills you with pride and joy to be able to lead that community in the right way and be a positive representation for them,
That's right.
and be able to also, you know, be inspired by them. So
in a lot of ways, I'm trying to live out something that I never saw, you know,
see
growing up. You know, I grew up single
that
parent.
part.
You know, my mom did a great job in raising my older brother, and I had a relationship with my dad. But it was, you know, it was pretty distant. And but we got to see him and stuff like that. But like, I'm trying to live out something that I didn't necessarily see. You know what I mean? And I'm doing that in real time. You know, and so, but it's a great joy and a great honor for me. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, regardless of what happens outside of the home, you know that you have a community at home that supports you, that loves you, not because of what you do, not because of your performance and whatever this thing is, but because you are Isaiah Marshall, you are my dad, or you are my husband. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, even when we think about friendships, like that's the type of friendships that in the community is like, man, you just kind of show up as you know what I mean? The good, the bad, the ugly, you know what I mean? But like you have a community that supports you, that is gonna help carry the burden when you when things are getting heavy. You know what I mean? Who gonna walk with you? Those enduring relationships. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The tension, you know, because being married, you know, you go through seasons of like struggle.
Yeah, it ain't a
But
perfect road.
right. But at the end of the day, it's an enduring relationship where there's this person that sometimes you struggle, but you work through the struggle and you come out stronger, you come out more committed. And then you just recognize that you're not in a battle against each other, but you're in a battle with each other.
Yeah. Man, that's so powerful. Again, the community aspect, you know, whether it's a friend group, whether it's a family, whether it's, you know, an organization that you're a part of, or,
Sure.
you know, whatever, a team, it's very important that, you know, you're part of something that you can draw inspiration from and that you can draw some strength from at times. That's very important to have. And then if you don't have that community, you use, you know, past, you know, experiences in your past in which you have overcome, in which you have, you know, pushed through to help you in today's efforts. All right, man, moving forward, working with so many people in the spiritual capacity that you do, I'm certain that you've become exposed to many different lifestyles, mindsets, behavioral patterns within other people. How has that level of enlightenment helped you in your career?
Man, we live in a very pluralistic society. I mean, people don't, you know, not everybody believe what you believe, which is not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a
Mm-hmm.
thing, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you learn from other people's experiences, whether or not they're a person of faith or not,
Mm-hmm.
you learn from their experiences. You learn what not to do. You learn some things to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think, everybody, we all have value, inherent value. So like we are all created in the image of God, which gives us inherent value. And I think we can learn from each other. Um, you know, we all have something to offer. I at one time in my life, and I think just culturally because of kind of context where everybody wanted to be either a rapper, basketball player, football. But at one time in my life, I believed that the only thing I had to offer was my athletic abilities, particularly track and field.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the interesting things just in my journey is that it wasn't until I had to let track and field go that I started to discover other things that I was good at, like poetry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So like there was a grieving process because I had competed in track and field for so long. It had been such an important part of my life that when I had to grieve that thing, and in grieving,
Mm-hmm.
man, I had to, again, the journaling, the things that the writing, the poetry, the processing this loss,
Mm-hmm.
and people, family members helping you walk through it, you know, friends, peers helping you walk through it. It's just like you learn and you gain so much valuable things from people, what not to do, what to do.
Yeah.
And then I hope that in my life, as the scripture says, that we are living epistles, that as I live out my life, and my life is an open book, that that is reading the right things,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
that I'm living out as the light of the world. As scripture says, you are the light of the world. Like I'm living
Mm-hmm.
as light. And oftentimes, dark,
Dark
broken places.
spaces. Yeah.
So
Yeah, man. Working with so many people. I know, especially in a spiritual capacity, you definitely get exposed to all different types of trains of thoughts and lifestyles and things like
true.
that. But you also have to be cognizant that people are human beings and they're at wherever they are within their journey,
Right.
and that could be an inspiration to you if you choose to look at it from the through the proper lenses. Amazing words right there. I could go on, but I know you got a hard time out, so I'm gonna keep moving forward. But audience, go back and listen to what he said again, because I don't want to rehash it. I could, but I would probably be long winded, because that actually inspired me what you just said. But thank you very much for that.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
brother Marshall. Here is a thought provoking question for you. With so much inspiration and positivity living inside of you,
Hmm.
what is your greatest fear in life?
My greatest fear, man, that's a loaded question. uh, my greatest fear in life. Well, man, man, I fear quite a bit, man. Like again, just I think in our human nature
Hmm.
that we have certain desires, a sense of like we desire belonging, and
Hmm.
we desire to be loved. And man, like that's part of the fear that exists. I think is that when you find yourself in spaces that you don't you that you're that you're rejected, you know what I mean,
Hmm.
or you
Hmm.
don't find that sense of belonging, or you don't feel like that you're loved, and accepted in spaces. And that's especially like as one that's in ministry, in the ministry context. It's like, man, can I show up in a and be vulnerable, or would that vulnerability be weaponized? You know what I mean?
That part.
Those are fears. The thing that I try to navigate is like, man, and that's what I hope. Even when you think about being a creative, that's what one of the things that I hope that the thing that I do, or the spoken word poetry, is that it gives people permission to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And because, man, you got to be brave to do it. And sometimes, man, like when you're vulnerable, that can come with a sense of rejection, which is hard. And so, being rejected specifically by people you love, I think it can be even harder in a great fear for people. And so I think it's like not having a place to belong, and not, not feeling like you're not being loved is a fear. And then you got fears like death. You know what I mean? Like that's what I mean? But like I think that inherently, man, like we wanna I think just human nature is like we wanna have spaces where we belong and where we're loved.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a fear of not having that. So
Man, it's a real answer. Definitely a real answer. And that's, I'm not looking for any specific response necessarily. I'm looking for what an individual's true fears are, because it exposes to everybody watching that whatever fears you have, it's natural to have those fears. It's natural to feel like, you know, that is a point in your life where you might lose it a little bit if this thing happens to you, or if this thing doesn't happen to you. And so thank you for expressing that, because I think a lot of people fear that, and I think that discourages a lot of people from pursuing their visions and pursuing their dreams. And like you said, you have to have courage to still go out and do that.
yes,
And if you're going to accomplish anything in life, you may not know how it's going to be received along the way, but you have to keep your mind on that target, on that goal, and not allow anybody's perception of what you're doing to stray you, from that mission. And at the same time, it's so much more fulfilling and so much better spirit wise when you do have that community that will support, that will show up, that will help you not feel like you're rejected, or your words don't have value, or what have you. So I appreciate that. All right, we gonna get we got a couple more to go, and but we're gonna have a little bit of fun right now before we get up off of here, Isaiah.
yes, sir.
All right. So just like every other guest this season, can't just let you hop up in the ride, then hop up out the ride without having a little fun with you. Revisit your dream style. So it's time for another installment of Who Got It. Let's get it. All right. So this is a slightly different version of the Who Got It segment. Usually we cover 3 cities or locations that my guests have lived in, and I ask you some questions about who got it between those 3 cities. But since you attended Mississippi State University, Tennessee State University, and Lipscomb University, we need to know who got it between the 3 schools. All right?
Yeah, I'm gonna say
No. Hold on.
okay, my bad.
The question is not just generally who got it. Hold on.
Okay.
I got 6 topics for you.
All right.
You can be as long or as short-winded with the responses as you would like. All right. So we need to know who got it between Mississippi State, Tennessee State, and Lipscomb. I'm not going to ask who had the best band or where you might have had the deepest cultural experiences. Those might be obvious responses to many people watching. So we're going to go a little bit deeper than that. So who got it between Mississippi State, Tennessee State, and Lipscomb? Which school takes the most pride in its own heritage and history? Mississippi State, Tennessee State, or Lipscomb?
I'm gonna say Tennessee State. Yeah, by and large.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say because it's a HBCU, and so my cultural experience was reflected within the experiences of others that attended. Whereas at Mississippi State, that was as a PWI, Lipscomb University, PWI, though it was a Christian faith base. So I think Lipscomb traditionally in the Church of Christ space, they are rooted in, that tradition. But I think by and large, in my experience at Tennessee State, they got it. You know what I mean?
Tennessee State got it as a school that has the most pride in its own heritage and history. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, who got it? Mississippi State, Tennessee State, or Lipscomb? As a runner, which university experience offered you the greatest memories as an athlete?
Mississippi State, most definitely. I mean, you can't really beat competing at the SEC level, where you find yourself amidst some of the fastest, some of the most talented athletes in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
And so in doing that, it brings out the best in you. And so I think, MSU, they got it for sure.
Mississippi State. Dope. Appreciate that. All right, next one. Who got it? Mississippi State, Tennessee State, or Lipscomb? At which school did you learn the most about yourself?
And this is a tough one because I feel like I learned different lessons at each school. But I would say some of the huge light bulb moments for me came at Mississippi State, where it was through the ministry of FCA where the Lord captured my heart at Mississippi State. It was also a context where I learned, like, man, a light bulb moment went off when I learned that, professional athletes make up of like 1% of all athletes. And the likelihood of me becoming a professional athlete, though not impossible, I mean, it was just a small percentage. And what I found there was a team meeting that we did where the coach, he was like, everybody that got a 3.0 or better, go on this side. Everybody got below a 3.0. And I tell you, the majority of the people that had below the 3.0 was my black brothers and brothers at that time, because I think it was just the men at that time that was in that context.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked over to my white peers and said, man, they not only want to be good athletes, but they want to be doctors. They want to be, and that was a light bulb moment for me where it's like, man, I cannot squander this opportunity that is presented to me and just being so singularly focused on the running or track aspect that I'm losing sight of the academic part of it. And man, from that point on, I just, academic became a huge part of because at leading up to there, I was like, man, as long as I'm eligible, I'm good. You know what I mean? But I'm like, man, to be so narrow focused where I just want to be good at this one thing. Nah, man, I want to pursue excellence in every part of my life.
Yeah.
And that was a huge turning point in my life.
Yeah, man. Thank you for that. You wasn't just trying to be, eligible,
Right.
going to school for eligibility, just staying eligible to run. Man, dope. All right. So it sounds like Mississippi State got it as the school that you learned the most about yourself. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Who got it? Mississippi State, Tennessee State, or Lipscomb? Which learning experience do you feel is more responsible for the person that you've become today?
I think Tennessee State, and I say that because when I went to TSU, I went a new believer in Jesus, and I had some father wounds. And when I got there, I met a guy there who is two men in my life that I often reference as like having great impact on my life. And that's my high school track and field coach, Robert Lynch. And that's the man, Lee Brown at Tennessee State University, who discipled me, who became like a father to me. He was, at a time of my life where I needed a father figure, he stepped in and man, he walked with me through some hard seasons. helped me navigate different things, and just showed me how to love a wife because I saw him love his wife.
Mm-hmm.
How to love your children because I saw him love his children, even though at that time I didn't have a wife. I didn't have kids, but he modeled something that is like one day I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And so I think it taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about the importance of influence, the importance of having father figures, spiritual fathers in your life. So I would say Tennessee State for sure.
So Tennessee State is a place where Isaiah's felt has been most responsible for the person he's become today. All right, a couple more. Who got it? MSU, TSU, or Lipscomb? During your years there, at which university did you learn the most about the world and other people?
Now, this is where I feel like Lipscomb, because I went to Lipscomb. I got a seminary degree there. And when I went to Lipscomb, I was like, my faith had been nurtured through the ministry of FCA, which is not necessarily like a teaching ministry.
Mm-hmm.
But I started to learn a lot about sin and what that meant and what that looked like in the world, about redemption. I learned a lot about the world going to Lipscomb, being kind of formed through other believers, engaging with scripture, engaging with different texts, books that we were reading. So I think, yeah, in that way, it was nurturing, sort of helping me mature in the faith, and establishing a biblical worldview. I would say a worldview, but it also helped me see the brokenness in the world and what the Lord was calling me, how the Lord was calling me to be within the ministry of reconciliation, as Paul would say. So not only seeing the brokenness in the world, but my part and how the Lord was inviting me to show up in the world as a believer. And so it helped me see in a lot of ways that my life was a part of God's bigger story. The biggest story that God is telling, that my life was a part of that. So, yeah.
So Lipscomb is the place that you felt you learned the most about the world and other people. All right, last one. Who got it? Tennessee State, Mississippi State, or Lipscomb? If you could rewind the hands of time and revisit your collegiate experiences all over again, which university experience would you choose to return to in order to earn a 4-year degree?
Man, I can't. That's a tough question for me to answer, because man, each played, I think a valuable part of my life, where I feel like without that experience, I wouldn't be where I am today, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But I will say, it was at Tennessee State where I met a father figure, a mentor, someone who discipled me. And it was at Tennessee State where I met my wife. She's my college sweetheart. So, Tennessee State has a very special place in my heart. And so, I wouldn't, if I can like say I could do away with any of those experiences, I mean, I would have to choose having the experience at Tennessee State, because one, I was connected to a very healthy community of believers, who we walked together with through the ministry of FCA. And then, as I mentioned, Lee Brown played a huge part, and then my wife. So.
Yeah, man. Thank you for that. I know that could have been a tough one, because it's almost like you're cutting out a piece of your life to who you are right now.
Right,
but
right.
it's just a reflective question to say, in other words, that question could have been, at which university do you feel was most impactful to your life today? You learned a lot at Lipscomb. You got some great experiences at Mississippi State, but your life kind of started taking shape as Isaiah Marshall, the man, Isaiah Marshall, the father, Isaiah Marshall, the husband,
Yeah,
Isaiah Marshall, the leader, started sounding like it started taking shape at Tennessee State University.
for sure. Yeah.
That's dope, man. Thank you very much. You survived around, my brother.
Let's go.
Great words and great work. Thank you for taking this ride and this journey with us on the segment of Who Got It.
Yes, sir.
All right, final ride. Last question. If you were to give a TED Talk to a room of adults who feel a little unsure of their abilities to express themselves and offer the light that is within them to the world, what words would you share with them that might help them see their light and inspire them to be courageous about their own self-expression?
I would say, going back to that quote that I've kind of adopted as sort of like a mission, and what I do is like, when life breaks your heart, make art with the pieces. And I feel like when we express our art, it gives other people permission to be courageous, to be brave, and do the same. But each of us have different ways in making art with the broken pieces. And so when you find what your way or your platform, or the way you make art, um, allow that to be the means by which you make art from broken pieces. You make something beautiful from something broken, from the rose that grew from concrete, as you mentioned. And so um, that would be my encouragement: is you have something of value that other people need. It may not be for everybody, but it's for some. And you won't know who it's for until you actually exercise, you actually display that art to the world. And so it connects with it will connect with who it needs to connect with. And so I would just be brave, lead from the front. That's where the concept, the front runner, came from. Is like, I knew that I was running my race when I was out front. And so you got, and it takes boldness, it takes courage, it takes braveness, it takes being brave to lead out in front. But when you lead out in that way, you give other people permission to do the same. So be brave, be courageous, make something beautiful from broken pieces. So.
Man, I love it. I love it. Isaiah Marshall, that's a great word. Audience, I hope that you've been inspired by this gentleman. I appreciate you joining the ride today and answering these questions. So much inspiring words, so much enlightenment. Audience, like I said, I hope you got something from it. You should have been enlightened by at least one thing that he said. If nothing else, the last thing he said: take the broken pieces of your life and create some type of art with it. Your level of your version of art, whatever that might be. Find that self-expression. All right, Brother Marshall, we're going to wrap it up here. I'm going to give you the opportunity to share with our audience anything that you personally like to share. Feel free to promote your business, your products, your services, anything else that you'd like to share. You can let them know how to get connect with you and what you offer. The floor is yours.
Yeah, so you can connect with me on socials, the Isaiah Marshall. That's THE. My name, Isaiah Marshall, on all platforms. Got a project coming out in October called Long Story Short that I'll be releasing. You can check out all my poetry projects on Spotify, anywhere you have streaming, and so Spotify, Apple Music. And I would love for you to come along the journey with me. And so the best way, though, is to keep up to date with the things that I have going on is through the socials, particularly Instagram.
Okay.
So follow me there, and in my prayer is that I lead you somewhere, that you want to be. So
Dope, man. If they go search for your spoken word on the streaming platforms, what artist profile are they looking at?
Isaiah Marshall. So it's just
Okay.
my name, Isaiah Marshall.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so you can find me there. So yeah, I'll be releasing some new singles from that project here in the near future. But I'm excited about it. So yeah, I pray that you will support me in the journey.
Y'all go tap in with my brother Isaiah Marshall on all of the socials. You can catch. He's got a book is out on Amazon. You can
Yes,
search
sir.
him by his art, by his name. He's got spoken word poetry and spoken word projects out on all the streaming platforms. You can search him by name and connect with him through social media at Isaiah Marshall. Thank you very much, brother Marshall.
Yes, sir.
Those are profound words of advice. So thank you very much. For those of you watching, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if so, please subscribe, please like, and please share this episode with someone who you know that might benefit from it. We are excited about what we have going here on season 4. We just reached over about 180 subscribers. As I've always said, I'm not so tied to the numbers. We do need our numbers to grow, though, because when other people see a larger number, they're more inspired to watch. And our goal is to inspire as many people as possible. So please like, please share, please subscribe. And if you know someone who is still in the pursuit of their dreams, you should encourage them to keep going and keep growing through those experiences, because you never know when that dream might be the dream that makes all of our lives better. As a last reminder, our shows air each Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for everybody out there on the West Coast. And again, we want to thank you for joining us on another episode of Revisit Your Dreams. We'll see you again real soon. One love. We out.